Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. So today I'm kind of just going to sit down and talk to you guys about something that I struggle with and I have all my life. But before we get into it, I want to give you a scripture that is exactly what I'm talking about, and it is Matthew 6:34 through or it's just 34 actually, but it says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough troubles of its own." I think that is perfect for the topic because we are going to talk about anxiety and social anxiety.
Hello stranger, it's been a minute since we last kicked it. And by the way, just got in town, and I won't let cumulus clouds all in the sky ruin my vibe. Usually I don't do.
Okay guys, make sure you got some water, some tea. Come sit with me and chill. I also have my journal because I wrote down signs and symptoms of anxiety. Just give me a second. Okay, so all right here I wrote everything about anxiety and the signs that you possibly have anxiety. So the signs are feeling restless, wound up or on edge, being irritable, difficulty concentrating, headaches, muscle aches, having sleep problems such as falling or staying asleep, sense of impending danger, panic or doom. Another sign is sweating and trembling. Now this, I feel like, is, I'm just going to actually go on to the other signs and symptoms of high functioning anxiety. So there is normal anxiety, where you have a big presentation and you're trying to get everything together and you want it to be perfect. And there's a normal healthy anxiety, but there's also high functioning anxiety, and then there's also social anxiety. So I'm just going to give you guys all of the signs and the symptoms of it so you guys can understand more of what you may be feeling, because sometimes you don't really know what you have until somebody's like, hey, like, these are the signs and I'm here to deliver that to you. So high functioning anxiety is constantly overthinking, ruminating. So ruminating is where you have these repeated thoughts, and these thoughts can be from childhood. These thoughts can be from any like traumatic thing. It doesn't even have to be traumatic, but like that's where normally some of this stuff comes from. So ruminating and overanalyzing, where you're so focused. Like overanalyzing is where like you're analyzing everything outside of you, and sometimes you forget that like you have to come back to yourself and you have to center yourself and you have to be present inside. Somebody, I once watched a video and she told me that I don't know what it was, but it was something about like I don't know if it was like codependency or anxiety or just people with PTSD. I don't remember, but basically a lot of the times you can be focusing so much on the outside world and you forget about the inside of yourself, and that's when you self-abandon, and that's not okay. So I'm going to keep going on with the list of signs that you may have high functioning anxiety. Fear of failure and striving for perfection. This one I know too well. Yesterday I literally was like doing my hair and I noticed that a little pieces of hair was coming out, and I just kept trying to gel it down. I redid my hair. I just tried to be so perfect yesterday, and there's no such thing. There's no such thing as anybody being perfect. Nothing is perfect. Nobody is perfect. There is a scripture in Psalms that says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, but the world's perfection and God's perfection is so different. So you're not gonna always, have beautiful skin, or like there are times where you're gonna have a pimple, or there are times where you're going to, you know, gain a little weight, or your hair is not always going to be laid down perfectly how you want it to. You know, you just have to really love your imperfections and stop trying to be so perfect. And I'm speaking to myself too, so yes. Okay, so another thing is insomnia, fatigue from constant survival mode. I feel like survival mode for me, I was in it so much, just trying to survive, and I think that just really comes from childhood. Everything does. Like, if you have a problem in your life, you most definitely will have to look into your childhood trauma, because that's probably where it is. You know, that's probably where the root of a lot of the things you're going through right now are. And I think survival mode is just you being in a constant like fight, flight, or freeze. You know, like either you're running from something, or and not even like a tiger, like you're running from like your emotions, your feelings, your past, or you're like trying to always fight people, like, and not fist fight. I mean, that could be that too, but constantly fighting people who are there for you and you just don't believe that you're good enough in that case, stuff like that. Or freezing, or just constantly like maybe isolating yourself from the world. I know that anxiety and depression are linked, and I know a sign of depression is you're isolating yourself. You don't really want to be associated with people or anybody. It doesn't have to be friends, family, it could be anybody. You just want to be alone, and I feel like that is a definitely big sign of isolation. But there also are times when God does isolate you for a period, but you have to go to Him and know what season you're in. Another sign is nervous habits such as nail biting, hair twirling, or leg shaking. I can normally tell when someone has anxiety by when they shake their legs, and I'm very in tune with that. I don't know why. I feel like when people do shake their legs, I'm like, okay, you definitely have anxiety right now, or like you are either overthinking or ruminating or whatever the case may be. Something is going on with you. So if you have loved ones and you know they're shaking their legs or nail biting or any of these signs in friends or family, definitely like seek help with them. Like, you know, talk to them. Maybe they need someone to talk to or whatever the case may be. But another sign is the need to please others and difficulty saying no. Now this is going to be in another one of my videos, so I'm not going to talk about it much, but having boundaries and saying no is completely okay. It doesn't make you a bad person for saying no. A lot of the times, a lot of people who have anxiety and stuff like that, they're constantly doing for others, and they're not really doing for themselves. And because you're not saying no and you're not taking care of you and what you need to do, you might likely, that will cause anxiety. I know that hands down. So being able to like not people please and, you know, saying no and not always being the nice girl or guy, it's okay. You know, it's definitely okay to say no. And yeah. Fear of situations in which you may be judged negatively. Now, I also feel like this is tied to social anxiety as well, but I'm going to get into that later on in the video. Intense fear of talking with strangers, fear of others noticing that you are anxious. So now I'm going to go on to social anxiety. Interactions with authority figures or well-known and accomplished individuals, being introduced to new people, talking or making phone calls, asking for assistance in stores, in restaurants, or people on the street, jobs or school-related interviews, public speaking, performing in front of audience, encounters with people they knew in the past, old schoolmates, co-workers, etc., who might judge them for the lack of life progress. So I can tell you from my personal experience, some of these like authority figures such as a boss telling them, you know, like I need to take time off, or maybe a school teacher, or I just know for me it's definitely been like a boss figure, where I will start to like not really like speak up, or if I do, I'm super nervous about it. So it doesn't have to be just a boss, just any authority figure, maybe a toxic parent. I know that's difficult too, because you know, if you know, you know. But yeah. Another thing I go through is like making phone calls. Like, you know, some people literally can get anxious from just like ordering food, on the phone, or like, you know, placing an order, or you know, making a phone call for like a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, whatever the case may be. It's normal. It's not normal to have social anxiety, but it's okay to process your feelings when you are having either just anxiety, social anxiety, or high functioning anxiety. Anxiety is anxiety no matter what it's labeled as. Another thing is asking for assistance in stores. I remember I just recently got a purse and I was so nervous to ask for what the price was. I like looked at her and it like I wanted to say it, but it like wasn't coming out, and I was just like it was terrible. It was definitely terrible, and I kind of felt choked up and just so nervous to ask. But I finally had the courage to ask, and it wasn't as bad as I was seeming like putting it in my head to be. It was not as bad at all. I definitely know like during public speaking, like when I was in school and I had to do a presentation, I was so self-conscious and I was so shy. Not shy, but just very introverted, and I didn't really, back then in high school, looking back, I did not really believe in myself as what I do now. And it did come from, like I said, my childhood, and you know, personal things. But I just remember always publicly speaking, or I know that when I did cheer, I had to perform in front of a lot of people. The lights, cameras, actions were on you, and it did cause a little anxiety, like performance anxiety. Like you had to perform and you had to show it. Like you couldn't mess up. Like if you did mess up, you were, you know, the coaches were gonna get on you after. But yeah, those are all the signs. And I'm gonna tell you some tips. I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed. What works for me may work for you, may not work for you. But some signs are definitely praying, meditating, and reading the Bible. There's a lot of scriptures in there that do talk about anxiety, and they definitely do help you to gain wisdom on how to deal with it, and knowing that anxiety is not from God. He does not want you to go through your life every single day feeling anxious, feeling worried. He tells you in the scripture that I just told you, do not worry about anything. He does not want you to worry, but we are humans, and it's not an excuse, but it also, like, he tells you not to worry, so it is not God who wants you to worry. It's not him at all. So, yeah. Another tip is controlling your breathing. A lot of the times, your breathing is very shallow. When I was in therapy, my therapist told me she told me to find like 5 minutes in the day to just deep breathe, just focus on just your breath. And I think people who have anxiety should do this right when they wake up in the morning, because if you do not take a hold of your thoughts in the morning, they will eat you alive, they will attack you. So I think the best time to like do this is in the morning. I have not been doing it recently, but just to take 5 minutes to just let your mind, like all those thoughts, you are not your thoughts. So just allow your thoughts to just like pass by. Don't allow your thoughts to identify you, like give you an identity, because it's not your identity. So just take 5 minutes, even if it's on your break time, your lunchtime, when you're at work. Take 5 minutes and just breathe and just focus on your breathing, and it will definitely slow your thoughts down and everything. Just being present and just being like, okay, that's a weird thought, like I'm not gonna entertain it. Another thing is try to exercise. I feel like I don't really know why exercising like releases so much like tension, stress, but it definitely does. It makes you feel good about yourself and your body. I feel like sometimes though, be careful, because when you exercise too hard, it can trigger anxiety. So just be careful with that. Another thing is to, like I said, question your thought pattern, basically. Negative thoughts take root in your mind and distort the severity of the situation. Ask yourself, is it true? And 90% of the time, it is not. So you have to change out I'm not good enough to I am good enough. It can be challenging. This is probably changing your mindset and the belief systems is probably the hardest thing a human being will ever go through. One of the hardest things, let me rephrase that, but it's worth it. Being able to look in the mirror and know you're beautiful instead of thinking you're ugly and just changing other things about yourself that you may not like. It's in your thoughts and in what you're thinking about, so just change it. And it's not easy, but it's worth it. Like I said, deep breathing, 5 minutes, just focus on literally just your breath, and then when you start to do it, and let's just say you do have anxiety, you're gonna realize how tense you are in your body and just how disconnected you feel from yourself, and you're going to end up feeling connected to you again and grounded. And that's what people with anxiety need, is to feel grounded to something, and it should be yourself first. And then this is probably my last thing I have for advice. This definitely helps me a lot of the times when I feel like I have nobody to talk to, is to write down your thoughts/emotions in a journal. You can actually hear the BS you're thinking or telling yourself. You also can have a chance of getting it all out of your head, and your thoughts will be clearer. So that is basically all I have for you guys with anxiety. If you have an opportunity to take therapy, please do. Or if one of your friends are a therapist, or just somebody to talk to. I know it can be hard sometimes to open up and express that part of you, like I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling scared, or I'm feeling worried or depressed. It is hard. I definitely know what it's like, especially if you grew up in a household where emotions wasn't really something you talked about. You had a roof over your head, you had clothes, you had everything material-wise, but something just didn't feel right when it came to you having to cry alone in your bedroom at night and being your own comforter. But yeah, another thing too I want to tell you guys is a lot of the times people will call somebody shy, but it's really not shyness, and it is just somebody going through a lot of anxiety or high functioning or social anxiety. It's not necessarily shyness, and I feel like the people who are shy and they get really comfortable around you are the most craziest people on the planet. So I don't think shyness is the right word anymore. I think it just needs to be canceled. Shyness there is a difference in it. So yeah, that is basically it. So I hope you guys got something inspirational about this video. I hope that I touched you in a way you needed, or if you didn't really know what you were going through until I explained it to you, because it's taken me a couple years to realize that it is anxiety that I was going through, and just not feeling safe in my own skin, not because of me, but in my own skin, my body, around people. But I'm definitely learning to, you know that you are safe. There are mantras. I can leave them down in the link below. Some mantras for anxiety and some prayers for anxiety. So definitely go check those out. And I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.